Hello, and welcome to the second part of this edition of a Smart Money Canvas. How you build £1 million portfolio starting from zero, even at the age of 40. Hopefully, you've already watched the first part. It's exciting. If you haven't done so yet, I'll strongly recommend that you go back and watch that first part. Then you'll be able to get the full context of this subject that we're looking at today, how to build your £1 million pension port. So continuing from where we stopped the last time, just going to jump straight into it. Just to give you a bit of an overview. In the last video, we went through what SIPP is all about. So the pension vehicle that we're using for this strategy is self-invested pension plan, which is called SIPP. And we also looked at R35, working as a contractor inside R35. What does that mean? How can you actually leverage this strategy for your gains? How can you pay less taxes? And we looked at that as well. And then the last video, I showed you my own personal pay slip. For now, I use this strategy, and now I've been able to build up something quite significant for myself. So we're going to be jumping into the second part right now, because this is the part where we actually get the work done, right? How you build the £1 million portfolio. Okay, so like I said, we're starting with the age 40. So you're going to walk with me. We're going to do this together, right? So let's put 40 there. So starting at age 40, and what you're looking to contribute on a weekly basis, as I contributed, I showed you that in the last video, is 1,250 on a weekly basis into your SIPP, into your pension pot. Now, at the end of the year, you're going to be hitting the threshold, okay? So the working weeks we have in a year is 48. So we're working 48. And if you multiply that by 1,250, which we're putting in every week, that comes to the £60,000 threshold that we have in the UK. Anything above £60,000, then you will be taxed. But up until £60,000 you put into your pension pot, you will not be taxed. So say, for example, you're earning 80 or £100,000 and you've committed 60,000 into your SIPP, but you now thought, you know what, I've got other sources of income, I want to put a bit more into it, or you want to put £80,000 into your SIPP. It's still possible, but the extra £20,000 you're going to be putting in will be taxed. So you're not going to be paying that into it before tax, it's going to be after tax. You see what I mean? So £60,000 is a threshold. So that's what we're working with on this strategy. Now, imagine you putting £60,000 into your pension pot, and you're doing that for the 10-year period that we're looking at. No break whatsoever. You're working straight 10 years. You got different contracts. It could be 4 contracts within that space of time, or it could be 2 contracts. Like I told you before, there was a time I had one client, right? Prism check. We had one client, which I serviced for 6 unbroken years, almost 6 years, about 5 years and 10 months or so. So it's possible that you just have 2 clients for a period of 10 years, or it could be 10 clients, right? It depends on, the individual or the opportunities that you get. So, but let's assume that you get a streak 10 years in a row, and you're able to keep to the discipline of putting your 1,250 £1,250 away every week into your SIPP. What that means is that over the 10-year period, you will have £600,000. That is 0.6 million. That is phenomenal. That's over £500,000 just using the strategy over a 10-year period. So one thing that you need to remember is time comes to all of us anyway. Time will always come to pass. It's what you do in time that matters. So if you don't do anything in time, guess what? You're not going to get anything at the end of the day. It's like a cycle of planting and reaping, or sowing and harvesting. If you don't plant anything during the planting season, you're not going to get anything during the harvest season. Time will always roll by. So it's important for you to commit to certain discipline within time, because that's what guarantees the harvest you're going to get. Getting rich is not mythical. It's not mystical. It's not magical. There is nothing really serious to it. It's just, making the right choices and sticking to the right discipline. If you can do these, you can definitely, accumulate good amount of material wealth for yourself. Okay, so let's jump back straight into the canvas, shall we? Now, I put these 50% void recalculation in because in the situation where you don't get a streak, right? You don't get to be in contract 10-year stretch. So you've got breaks in between here and there. Okay, so let's say 50% of the time you were able to put this money away into your pension pot. What that means is that you're going to get £600,000 divided by 2, right? 50% of that, which still comes to a decent £300,000. You still get £300,000 at the end of the 10-year period. And what I've done here is I've just used the calculation of 5 years in a row, and the other 5, nothing is happening. That's what we're going to use in the calculation that we're going to come to now. But for you, it might be 1 year in, break for 6 months, and you get another 6 months. It could be scattered all over the place. So it might not be as linear as what we're going to be calculating here. But let's just assume, for easy calculation purpose, that you're able to accumulate £300,000 at the end of 10 years. Whether you get it in a stretch or whether you get it haphazardly, you're still going to get 300,000 anyway. Where the difference will be is when we start calculating the return on investment, when you start putting your funds to work, and which was what we're going to jump into right after this now. Now, at the end of the 10-year period, you're going to be 50 years. Okay? 50 years. 50 years, you're still young. People still look at you like, you're still young at 50, right? So, but what you've done within that past 10 years can really shape your life, okay? And look at it. So you can create over 300,000 or 300,000 pounds, or even more than that. If the opportunities come your way and you're able to reduce the 50% void period to maybe about 60, to about maybe 40% or 30%, you get more money, right? So, but let's stick with 50%. Now, what we're going to do is you're looking at the board or you're looking at the canvas and going, that's £300,000. That's not giving me the £1 million you talked about. Yes, I'm aware of that. So what we're going to be doing now is how do we then leverage the 300,000, right, from the point of you accumulating it to when you get to 50 and even beyond? Because remember, the age at which you get access to join 25% tax-free, 25% cash, tax-free from your SIPP is 57. That's the age in the UK. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having 2 different, or should I say 3, actually 3 different runs. So the first run is going to be from 40 to 45. Then we're going to do another run from 45 to 50. And the third run from 50 to 57. Okay. So we're going to be doing compounding. Oh, amazing. I'll use this calculator. The calculator side is brilliant for calculating compound interest. And that's what we're going to jump into right now. Remember, you're putting £5,000 a month, so approximately 1,250 every week in. So let's jump into this calculator. And I want us to do this together. Okay, I want us to do this together. So what I'm going to do, I hope you can see my screen very, very clearly. Okay. So the initial investment, so this is you opening your SIPP account. You open the SIPP account with any of the providers. I'll use Agris and Lansdowne. You can open it with any provider. You put in 0. Okay, so we're starting with 0 investment. So you're not plunging anything in from your savings, right? So let's start with 0. Excuse me. Now, let's work with the interest rate of 10%. Now, I'm going to show you after this how that is achievable. So the interest rate of 10% per annum, 10% return on investment per annum. That's what you're going to be trading your portfolio at. And then let's use the compounding of yearly. So even, be conservative about it, right? So let's use a compound frequency. Let's put it to, yearly, 1 per year. And the years is 5 years. So we're going for like I said, the first run, the first leg of that journey is 5 years. So let's start with 5 years. And now on a monthly basis, remember on a monthly basis, you're putting in 5,000. I know it's weekly, but again, let's be conservative. It will make your result even better if you're like calculating on a weekly basis, well, let's remain conservative. Let's put £5,000 on a monthly basis. And let's deposit that at the beginning, right, of the period. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to calculate these and see how much you're going to get at the end of 5 years. Remember, 5 years. That's the first leg of that journey, 5 years. There you go. So rather than you getting 300,000, if you don't invest it, you get 300,000. That's what you see the additional deposit, 300,000, like we calculated earlier. But now because you're investing that at 10% per annum return on investment, you're getting an extra £86,000 on top of it. So which makes your pot now worth £386,147.58. That's at the end of the first 5 years. Now, what we're going to do now is to take that balance and plow it back into, let me just copy it, and then put it in here now as your initial investment for the second leg of the journey. Okay, shall we? There you go. £386,000 plus is there now. We're going to stick with our 10% return on investment because you will have the skill to actually do this, to manage your own portfolio because it's SIPP, right? It's self-invested. So you need to acquire the skill to be able to do this. And I'm going to be talking to you about that on this video. So we're putting 10% there. And we're going for the second leg of the journey now, 5 years, another 5 years, 5 years in there. Now, this time around, we're going to have zero. So you're not adding any more money. You're simply just trading what you've accumulated over the last 5 years. You're going to run again for the next 5 years. That's the second leg. Now, let's calculate that and see what that comes to. Voila. Okay, you've almost doubled that, right? So over the 5 years, you've actually taken your 386,147.58p, you've taken it into 621,894.54 pence. Okay, so that is super amazing. So this is what you get at the end of the 10th year. So you get over £620,000 at the end of the 10-year period. Remember, that is the end of the second leg. We still have the final leg, which is going to be a 7-year leg. And that is when you're going to have access to your pension, your SIPP, your pension pot. So you're 50 years old now, assuming you're 50 years old now, and then you've got 621,000, excuse me, £621,000 in your pension pot. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take that amount, right? We're going to put it right here, and then we're going to stick with our 10% again, but this time around, we're going to go 7 years because we're just doing these 7 years all the way through. We're going to get to the point where you can then access your 205% cash tax rate from your pension pot. Now, at that age, at 57, right, when you have access to this cash, you can choose what you do with the cash. You can choose what you do with it. The tax man is not going to look in your direction. So remember what we're trying to get to is what this video is all about, is how to build £1 million portfolio. I've showed you how to start from zero to where we are. I've showed you how I started myself. I showed you an example, showing you my payslip of how I actually kicked that off. Now, you've got this amount in here. You've got 7 years, no deposit again because you're not putting any money in. Of course, if you put money in, you get better result, right? But let's put that at zero. You're not putting any more money in. Now let's calculate it. See where the miracle happens. Watch out. Whoa! We hit it. 1.2 million. You're in excess of 1.2 million pounds in your pension pot at age 57, right? At age 57. So you actually made it. So let's jump back straight into the canvas now, shall we? And look at that. So I've taken a screen grab of all of those for you as well. This is the first leg. So you're 40 to 45. You can see where that got you. And then we moved from that, from age 45, right, to 50, you got the 621,000. Yeah, you remember that earlier? And then from that 50, you did 7 years, that's 50 to 57. And that got you to your 1.2 million. That's 1,211,896.52. That's what you get at the end of the 7 years. Okay. So this is just amazing, right? If you really think about it, £1 million is not a lot of money. I mean, especially this time and age where you can buy one piece of real estate for 1 million, right? You know, I was still looking at one earlier today, 1.5 million, not far from where I live. So it's not a lot of money, but it's enough for people to live on, right? If you put that money away and you're just taking 5% on that amount, on the 1.2 million, and you just, if it's 10%, it's 120,000 a year. If it's 5%, you're getting 60,000. That's £5,000 a month just paid to you, and you can pay your tax so that you can live off that conveniently in the UK. I believe you can live conveniently on £5,000 a month now, and even in your retirement if you don't have things like mortgage and all of that to pay. So this is a decent way for you to start planning your retirement or financial independence, as we choose to call it here. This is the kind of strategy you want to deploy for yourself. But we're not done yet. Someone will be asking the question, okay, what are the things that will help me achieve this result? I've told you how you can, put away £1,250 every week into your pension pot. I've done it. I've showed you my life payslip, and how you can then take this forward and accumulate that over the period of time. That's a discipline that is required. And then the third key here really is, how do I get 10%? How do I get 10%? That's the key, isn't it? So let's look at the keys, right? So, right, before we even jump into the keys, right? I've shared this with you earlier, right? Age 57 is that age where you can get access to the pension pot. Again, this is to reinforce what I've already shared with you. You've got access. You can see these take a tax-free lump sum of up to 25%, and then withdraw the rest as and when you need it, with the withdrawal being taxed as income. Okay, so even if you want to just, do whatever you want with the £25,000, you can do it, and the rest is still there, or you can still be trading the rest, right, at 10%, because you've got the knowledge now. The knowledge is there. The knowledge is there for you to keep doing that. If you can commit to the discipline that will get you this kind of result, you would have built yourself into the person who can actually generate results. Because like we always say, wealth is not even in the money. It's not even in the asset portfolio. Wealth is in you. Wealth is in your capacity to solve problems. Wealth is in your capacity, or the size of your capacity to be able to produce results. That's wealth. So wealth primarily lies in your knowledge, in the information you've got access to, in the skills that you've developed. That's what real wealth is. And that's what we communicate. That's what we train people on in Prison Check. Okay, now let's calculate what your 1.2 million is going to be, 25%. Okay, so let's see what that is going to be, right? Let's bring on the calculator again. 121,1896.52 at 25%. So this is the amount you're going to have access to tax-free. So this cash, you're going to have access to this cash tax-free. So times 25% times 25%. Oh my word. £302,000. £302,000, £974.13. That's what you're going to get access to. Right. Now, let's take this figure. What can you do with that figure? A number of things you can do with that figure, right? You can pay off your mortgage. Okay. That's some ideas. If you still have that kind of mortgage balance, you can just pay it off. Okay. You can decide to buy a rental property with that. Go to a very good area where there's hardly any void, in a good location where you're always going to rent out property, and then just buy the property outright. You just know you don't want to deal with any headache of mortgage. You can buy that outright, and then you just claim to your rent on that. Or you can actually even leverage a mortgage. So with that, you can probably buy from some of the projects I've looked at, you can buy like 5 properties, 6 properties with that. Yeah, you can buy 6 properties with this, and each of those properties, based on my home project, you can get £500 a piece on each property. Okay, so you can buy 6 properties with that, or you can get £500 on each of them. It's going to be leveraged with mortgage anyway. However, what you're going to be getting is going to be 500 rent income to yourself, right, after paying your mortgage. Now, that £500 is to pay taxes on and all that. But at least you're going to get £3,000 gross income to yourself after settling your mortgage payments on those investment properties. So let's put that figure now. Diversify. Like I said, you do all the things, right? You can do whatever you want with that £300,000, whatever it is that you want. You're free to do that. It's your money, isn't it? Now, let's do something with that figure. Let's multiply it by 15% and see how much you're going to get, right? If you put it into any form of investment, or if there's a fund manager that says, I can make 15%, on your funds, you can pull that there, you diversify, you take it out of your pension pot, you're still trading the rest, and you put into something else, you just diversify, right? So shall we just look at that figure again? So we've got 302,000. So that's what we're putting here now. Just a lovely figure right there. Really? And you're multiplying that by 15%. So let's see how much you're going to get per annum. How much are you going to get per annum if you do that? Okay, so we're going to multiply that times 15%. Okay. £45,000. Nice. £45,000. That's what you're going to get gross income. So that gives you 45K. It's just super amazing. Let's put that in there. When you diversify, these are all possibilities. These are all realities you can create for yourself, right? And that is going to even be point two. £45,000. That's from another source. Remember, you're still trading your pension pot. So if you take the 25%, you still have the 75% left in the port, which you can still be trading at 10%. Just keep building it up, right? Just keep building it up. And whatever it is that you trade on that in a year. So if you think about it, really, I think this is a nice strategy you can even deploy. So remember what we're doing is you're taking out, which I want us to really calculate now. You're taking out £302,000 to diversify, and then you're going to be left with some figure. So let's calculate what that figure is. So what we're going to do now, let's take 121,1896.52, and we're going to deduct, or let's just say times 75%. Yeah, I'll easier that way. Times 75%. Okay, so that gives us 900,000. Okay, so you've taken out slightly over £300,000 from your pension pot, and what you're going to be left with is 908,000. So that 908,000, remember, you have the capital now, close to £1 million capital still left in there, and then you have the skill. Capital and skill. You got a skill to trade that pot at 10%. That is different from you diversifying and creating these additional cash flow for yourself. This is completely hands-free for you. It's completely hands-free. That 45K is coming to you hands-free. You don't need to do anything. This one, you still need to do something with it because you're trading and just managing your portfolio yourself. Now, if you do these, continuing to do these at 10%, the skill is there. You've mastered it over the last 17 years. Come on. Hey, no one can take that away from you, right? We're going to have economic cycles within the 17 years. You've learned everything. The boom and the bust. You've learned it all. It's all cyclical, right? You've learned it, and you've devised your strategy on how to ride the waves of economic cycles. Now, you can take that knowledge and continue to utilize it, even from the age of 57 going forward. So times 10%, times 10%. You continue to generate 10% of that amount. That's £90,000. So you can keep adding on top of the 900K you've got left in your pension pot, add £90,000 to it, and then you can draw this £90,000 taxed, or you can just draw what you need, leave the rest in there. Okay, so you can draw 60K, for example, if that's all you need, for your lifestyle, 60K. Or you can just leave off this 45K, and that £90,000, you just compound it. There are different kind of possibilities available to you here. Okay, well, you just need to do this. Just don't hear it, commit to it, do it. Okay, now someone will say, oh, good and well, Michael, I've heard you. Now, how do I plug into this? What are the keys? So that's where the golden key comes in. So I've got the golden key here. 3 aspects that you need to be looking at. 3 things you need to be looking at. Number 1, it's the career domain knowledge skill. Remember, I was able to put myself in a situation where I can consult within Prism Check in capacity of a BPM consultant to the corporate lines and attract this kind of income, this kind of revenue for the company, for myself. Okay. Right. So, but there is some sort of knowledge that comes into play to be able to do that. So that's the first thing you want to get right, to be, a contractor. And contracting is not going to go away. Okay. That labor force is not going to go away from the UK. I think it's even getting more popular in the US and Canada right now, but it's not going to go away. It's here to stay. So you can plug yourself into it if you don't have that already. If you're not an IT contractor, or you're not contracting medical field or the other, or civil engineering and all that, you can master the skill, set yourself the goal. If you're still maybe in your 30s, you can set yourself the goal that, I'm going to learn this trade. I'm going to study those who already getting this kind of results, know what it is that they do, learn from them, and attain that first step. So that's the first step on the ladder. That's for the first code in the key. Once you get this, you can make yourself available, right, employable by this market, this contractor market. Then you get in there. The next thing you then do is number 2, the discipline to follow through the plan. For some people, they find that difficult. You set it up, and then, like, okay, I can't carry on with this, and then you cancel it. You don't want to do that. That run that I just showed you, I committed to it all the way to the end of that particular contract, all the way through. And I still have that as a practice right now. So just commit to it all the way through, and you can just build these results for yourself. No one's going to do it for you, right? It's not just going to fall on your lap. You need to commit to the discipline that is required. This is how you become wealthy. That discipline will change you. It is in the change that takes place in you that build the wealth material that you become. Wealth is not external to you. It is in you, right? It is an integral part of your life. It's a knowledge, it's a discipline, it's awareness, it's a consciousness that you carry. That's wealth. Okay. Now, the third key is a portfolio management knowledge and skill to generate 10% per annum. Okay. That's where the beauty comes in. How can I attain this? Yes, you can come and talk to us. Now, before I do that, let me show you the kind of result that I've gotten. Okay. Like I said at the beginning of the first part of the video, taking the gloves off, just being practical with you, just showing you, like, not a lot of presenters will show you their own personal accounts, right? But I'm desperate for you to be inspired to take action. You need to be inspired to take action, because guess what? If you don't take action, you're not going to get results. You're not going to get this result. You're not. That's the honest truth. You're not going to get it. I wish someone had taught me this when I was in my 30s, when I was in my late 20s. I would have started much earlier. I would have generated the £1 million way before now. Okay. Do you get it? So it's possible when you take result, when you have access to the information, and then when you take the result. So I'm going to show you a live example, right, for myself, and then you see, oh, this is possible. I can do it. And then you can come and talk to us about how you can set yourself up for this. So let's follow this arrow all the way to the third and the final code of the golden key and see what that reveals to us. Why, it's a very long arrow, right? Yes, it's a long journey, isn't it? To get there, but you need to persevere. Great. Okay, it seems we're seeing it now. What have we got here? Okay, so what I've got here for you is a screenshot of a pension pot, right, that I've got. Okay. Of course, I've redacted the balance. I'm not at liberty to disclose the amount, but I'm showing you other amounts here. And more importantly, this figure here, right? 20.67% of that portfolio that I've got within here. 20.64%. If I just left the cash in there, that's what it's going to say. It's going to say 0%. So it says 0%. So if you leave it 300,000 in there, you just put it in there, and then you don't trade it, it's going to be 300,000 all the way through the 17 years, all the way through 300,000. Yeah, of course, they will pay you interest, because if you actually check the pay interest on the cash that you have on the account, you can see I still have about £12,000 cash in there, and I collect interest on that. So, but based on what has been invested, what happened next? Generated about 14K, which is about 20% return on investment. So it's possible, right? It is possible to generate 10%. So if I can do 20% here, you can do 10%. Don't tell me you can't do it. You can do 10%. Okay. So, and then what kind of stocks? You're not going to be picking, dangerous stocks, like stocks are just going to knock you off. No, you're not going to be doing that. You're going to be picking, stocks that are based on clear fundamental and technical analysis, right? And some of these funds are not, some of these stocks are not, even strange, right? You've got, look at this for example. This is part of my holding, right? I've got about 8K there, so you can see about 43% on that one. Of course, you win some, you lose some, right? And then everything aggregates out. I got 20%. That's what you're going to do as well. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but they will aggregate out. So you need to have the knowledge on how to do this. And you can see Google. Wow, yes, Google is still making money because you're using Google. I'm using Google. We've used Google in this video. So they're still making money. So you can trade these, right? You can absolutely trade this. But you need to know when to come in, right? You see that it's done 56%. It's done 56%. It's amazing. Okay, you can see that. That's done 80%. What? Knowledge. It's amazing. And this is what we can put in your hands. We can definitely and absolutely put this in your hands. Okay. Okay, let me show you more, right? So I've got this second screenshot here. So you can see that it's not all rosy, right? You win some, you lose some, like I said. So you just got to be real. And you can see that one, it's done minus 50%. Okay, so I've got minus 3K there. Problem. I mean, this for the long haul is going to recover. I'm going to get it back. So I'm not doing day trading. You're not doing day trading. So this is not about make quick money in stocks and shares. No. It's not about that. We're talking about building wealth here. We're talking about building lasting wealth. That's what we're talking about. So you're not put off by this kind of figures. Possible. No. So you're not panicking. All right. Done your solid, fundamental analysis, which, we're going to train you now to do how to trade your own portfolio yourself. You can see that. And look at the video, just knocked that out straight away. So I've just recovered what I lost there, 55%. Okay. It's fantastic, isn't it? Okay. And then you can see PayPal is here to stay, right? I'm going to still recover that. Just a deep is going to recover. So I've got minus 27% currently in my pool. And then you've got that one minus 11%. Look at my Tesco. Tesco is one of my favorite, right? Because about over 20 years ago, I used to work for about over 20 years ago, um, 2002, I think. That's about 23 years ago now. You know, I worked with Tesco. Guess how much I was earning then? £5.25 an hour. Crazy, right? Crazy. You know, £5.25. So don't tell me, I don't care where you are right now. I don't care where you're starting from right now. You can just aspire to get here. The same person I used to earn £5.25 an hour, I never made it to £1,000 in a month in paycheck when I was working in Tesco. I never made it there then. But that was just a phase in my life, right? Come through that phase, got myself into the point where I could actually put away 1,250 in a week, right? So it got myself to a point where the equivalent of my 5 months, actually maybe 6 months paycheck from Tesco, I was able to invest it in a month into my SIPP. 6 months paycheck some years ago, vested within 1 month into SIPP. So it's possible. I don't care where you are right now. You can make this happen. You just need to have the guts to want to do it and the aspiration to want to do it. You can't just be on the fence. Guess what? Time will happen to you anyway. Okay, right. And you can look at Tesla there. Our great Tesla is almost done 100%. I think at some point he even did more than 100%. It probably just dropped to 99. And if I check today now, it will probably have done over 100%. I don't know, or even less than that. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. I've got my eyes on where I'm going. And look at that, it's done 14%. So all of these is possible for you. You can generate this kind of result. But the question then is, how do you get started? You can get started if you've got all the knowledge yourself, the 3 key elements, right, of the golden key, those elements, 3 of them, the knowledge that is required for you to put yourself in a point, in a position where you can earn enough to put away $1,250 every week into your SIPP, and then the discipline to stick with that plan. And then number 3, the knowledge and the skill to be able to manage your own portfolio, to generate, kind of 20% or 10% per annum. Okay. So how do you, get that? You can get in touch with us. Okay. Absolutely get in touch with us. That's what I'm going to strongly recommend. Drop us a chat, get that number there. Drop us a chat on WhatsApp to say, I've watched your video and I'm interested. If you absolutely are committed to your future, then you must be doing this. I know some people, watching this right now, you're like, oh yeah, I've done that. Fantastic. So yes, drop your comments in there. Let people know that this thing is possible. I want to be able to create the reality for all this as well. That's why we are here in Prism Check with, personal finance education. We want people to create these kind of results as well. So our private services is offering these financial intelligence training. We've got what we call the FIT programs, financial intelligence training programs, and we train you to do one of these stuff, right? So this is one of the FIT programs that you have. Drop us a chat. I'm taking this quite personal because I've showed you my personal accounts. I've showed you my personal account. I'm taking this personal, and that's why the email that you have there is not even the team's email. So this is not going to the team. It's coming directly to me. It's not going to the feed team. It's coming directly to me. Drop me an email, right? Drop a WhatsApp chat, WhatsApp message to say, I've seen your video. Fantastic. I'm in. I want to learn more. How can I get my hands on this? If you're an IT contractor, if you're in medical field, you're working with the NHS as a locum, you're inside R35. If you're inside R35, please and please don't waste any more time. If you're set up already, fantastic. If you set up your SIPP, great. But you still need to know how to get 10% off it. If you know that already, fantastic. Drop a line or 2 in the comment box and let people know that this thing is possible. It's real, right? It's real. And then also, I strongly encourage you to download our app. It's going to change your life. Our finance app, and most of the features there are free. We used to just leverage on. We're passionate about people having a better relationship with money. So go to You go right now, just type mygapup.com, mygapup, GAP stands for Global Asset Portfolio, mygapup.com, or you can go to Play Store or App Store, and you can download that for yourself as well and start engaging with the app. It's going to help your financial life a great deal. So I'm super excited that we've taken you through this video, the 2-part video for this edition, and I know that you've learned a lot already, and I look forward to your testimonies and the testimonials that you're going to be giving us. But first of all, take the first step. Drop me a line right now. Drop me a chat right now in WhatsApp to say, Michael, I'm ready. I'm here. I'm ready to go in with you. I'm an IT contractor. I have £500 a day. I'm ready to jump onto these. So until then, make sure that you keep investing safely, keep investing wisely. Take care. See you later.